afternoon, America. Brian James Blem here, and welcome you back to another episode of What the Fuck's Up. Just coming back into Arizona, and I thought, what a better place to do volume 2 of my illegal immigration video, right? When I brought to you last week, I talked to you about the two significant issues that all of the illegal immigration under the Biden administration, how they impacted you in two significant ways. One was the massive outflow of your federal and state tax dollars, right? You pay federal and state taxes so that the government can bring goods and services to you, your family, your community, right? Like infrastructure, things of that nature, law enforcement services. And so the second area was in how, the massive influx of all of these illegal immigrants into the United States radically shifted the demand curve to the right, which resulted in a substantial increase in prices for your housing, for your food, for everything you consume within your community, including healthcare, folks. Just take a look at it. You flood a community with a whole bunch of new people. They need healthcare resources. It becomes more difficult to get an appointment with your doctor. It becomes more difficult to get goods and services from hospitals as the wait times significantly increase, because the supply of those goods and services is traditionally fixed in the short run, right? It takes a long time to ramp up all of this stuff to get new goods and services. Right? 911 calls. What happens in your community when it's flooded with thousands and thousands of illegal immigrants? Yuma is an excellent example of that. I'm just south of Yuma right now. And Yuma was flooded beyond belief. I stood at this very area watching hundreds of thousands of people from all over the world flood into the United States. What is the net result of that for emergency services like 911? Calls go through the roof. Emergency service response times decrease because the supply of law enforcement in this community is fixed. And so as the demand for law enforcement in the community is fixed or increases while the supply is fixed, it necessarily means that the law enforcement's not going to be able to respond to you as quickly as they otherwise would. And so those are just some of the problems. The next set of problems, folks, are illegal immigrants voting in U.S. elections, which would be against United States federal law, right? And so Adrian Fontes and the Democrats are hooting and hollering, oh no, illegals are not voting in Arizona elections. Well, a good example to show how it's actually possible is the Department of Justice's raid on a local sports bar in the state of Arizona, a chain called Zips. Right? It's my understanding, upon information and belief, there were multiple people arrested, illegal immigrants arrested, all using fake documents and fake paperwork to demonstrate their identity, right? If you have fake paperwork and fake documents that will allow you employment into the United States, those same documents would likely be sufficient to allow you to register to vote and vote in U.S. federal and Arizona elections, right? That's part of the problem, folks. You have all of these non-governmental organizations supported by billions of U.S. tax dollars, and likely all of this, this is nothing more, folks, than organized crime. This is the mafia. As these non-governmental organizations bring the folks across, what they were telling the illegal immigrants was dump your identity paperwork on the other side of the border before you cross into the United States. And so everywhere along the United States-Mexico border, I went under the Biden administration. You could walk out on the other side of the wall and just find tons of people's identification paperwork. They were throwing them away. They were coming into the United States with zero identity whatsoever. The Border Patrol was snagging them up and turning them over to non-governmental organizations, and boom, these folks have a new identity created for them. if it works to be able to get employment under federal law, it will also work to register you to vote. This is the big controversy between the Trump administration and Arizona's failed Secretary of State, Adrian Fontes, who swears up and down there are not illegals voting in Arizona elections. I would beg to differ, and I would think the Trump administration has every right under the U.S. Constitution to ensure illegals are not voting in Arizona elections by verifying the citizenship status of each and every registered voter in the state of Arizona. And so, America, we have to get this huge problem under control, because we have a massive organized criminal network that's trafficking in human beings, controlling the identity of these human beings and where they go and where they work. And this is nothing more than indentured servitude, right? A step up from slavery. And indentured servitude in the United States is unconstitutional. If you support what is taking place with this massive indentured servitude, then you are no different than the slave masters of yore. And with that, I'm going to say peace.